Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the lack of uploads or updates in general. Things have been really tough and I still don't have a stable enough connection to stream. So I'm kind of just stuck in the limbo of content creation, not being able to do much at all. And I still can't upload this video in under 10 minutes like I used to. Anyway, I'm here to talk about what people find really addicting these days, which is currency wars. I'm already at Wealth Creator 8, closing in on Wealth Creator 10. I probably reached it by the time this video is uploaded. I've kind of been stalling since I have 3 accounts and I play currency wars on all 3 of them, but I think I have enough of a grasp in its meta, quote unquote. Nevertheless, playing currency wars and seeing the overwhelmingly positive comments about it on Reddit and Twitter made me very fascinated. Because with every compliment that I see with currency wars, it feels like a mirror of what people find really miserable about Star Rail's actual endgame, which is very interesting. I will be dissecting each one and giving my opinions on the matter. Let's get on to the video. First, there is no FOMO for jades. The most prevalent issue plaguing a character gacha like HSR with its, income system is the lack of jades. Whether you're a casual or a sweaty tryhard, this will always loom over every decision you make and forces you to ditch characters due to bad timing. A character-based gacha like HSR effectively has like a 1 or 0 value. Either you have the unit or you cannot use them at all. In currency wars, even when the character was not pulled in any way, you can still use them. Their builds are weaker, and of course, some builds can be very questionable, but the characters in the trials are still very much usable. And even if you have the access to every character, pulling a character you want isn't useless either, since pulling a character actually allows you to build stronger builds, and allows you to have stronger build interactions like with the win set. In the actual Star Rail meta, not having a certain party member for a DPS is so punishing, especially with the trend of duos bound by the legs these days. Like, Finon and Ceredra, Sparkle and Archer, Herta and Tribi. If you like one character and not the other, you feel really bad about yourselves. In Currency Wars, you can use Trial Ceredra, so you didn't have to pull for her, Trial Sparkle, or Trial Tribi. If you dislike these supports, you didn't need to pull for them in any way, which is great since it allows you to focus more pulls on the DPS you like or vice versa. Maybe you like the supports more than the DPS. Whatever. You just don't have to worry about saving 180 pulls to pull a character you don't even like just so you can make the character that you actually like feel usable. Which I think is why people much prefer Currency Wars. If they skipped out on like Finon and regretted it, well, with a Currency War system, with a trial, they can have fun with him. I think it's very cool to have every character just have a weaker trial version, so it just isn't a 1 or 0 for a unit. Speaking of which, there is no stamina system technically in Currency Wars. To tackle this endgame mode, you don't really need good relics. You don't have to pre-farm either or log in every day just to make a character stronger. It's actually quite funny that a game mode like Currency Wars being laced with so much RNG is so much better than the actual base game with rolling relics, because rolling relics are just so much worse in terms of RNG. As much as I really like the concept of having a trivial to no stamina system in a gacha game, it is something that we can't really get rid of at this point. It's so ingrained into gachas that wishing it out of existence will be trying to erase the past 10 years or so, but either way, it is nice to have something like this where overcapping stamina and having to micromanage it is not a concern. Time to address power creep. Yay! Are you guys not bored of this discussion yet? Anyway, I'm only presenting a compliment that other people have and giving my opinion on it. In my opinion, if Currency Wars was the base game, I think power creep wouldn't be an active effect as much as it is right now because of the bond system, but I do think it's inevitable that it is compensated by a lot worse shilling than something like Anom Arbitration. I also need to say the obvious, since Currency Wars just released, power creep is literally impossible. Let them cook for a few patches and see where we go from here. Since this is like simulated universe, they will continuously rebalance Currency Wars units with stronger bonds and abilities to feel much better, which I think is very nice. If only the actual game would update their characters that fast. Anyway, while I do sorta agree that power creep won't happen as much in Currency Wars due to rebalances, the blessing shields of Currency Wars was the real base game would be quite insane to compensate for it. But to be honest, I agree that I would rather have Currency Wars Ultra Shilling. I can vault over that with trial units instead of like number differences that feel worse and make Shui feel unusable. Well, I guess Shui is unusable because she's not in Currency Wars, but that's not the point. Next, every character is useful. I think this is the strongest point of Currency Wars and the most that I'm gonna give it praise. Even when you go to the final phases of a Currency Wars run, a starter unit like Rappa doesn't just fall off a cliff. Sampo's weaker passives don't get benched. Even if you have a gold rarity on your lineup like Black Swan, you still want the purple high sealants for the DOT thing. You want blue rarity like Acheron just in case the enemies don't act enough. A green rarity like Kafka to enable the purple high sealants. And even gray units like Asta or Jiao Cho just to fulfill the bond system. Due to the bond system, a unit just doesn't stop being useful if you enter a tougher phase or something. They are fulfilling bonds that you want, which keeps them relevant despite their weaker passives and lower rarity. And even then, the bond system doesn't cover every archetype's weakness. So even if you're doing like a full DOT run, a green rarity Huohuo won't be useless. Everyone has a place with this bond system. There is no bullshit like in Memories of Chaos where a 4-star is directly just inferior to a 5-star and would be benched the second you find a 5-star to use. No, Currency Wars makes every character feel like they have a place in your run. The only reason they wouldn't be is if you chose not to do it for your own fun, which is beautiful, I think. The way Currency Wars can keep units relevant is such a breath of fresh air that makes people so addicted to the concept of it. And again, I think it's the best complement and the greatest strength Currency Wars has, at least in my opinion. And last, but not the least, the bond system is very rewarding to many types of players. First off, due to the randomized blessings, no run can ever be 1-to-1, which keeps the game fresh. Second of all, the bond system can go two ways. Either you synergize with their kit or base it off their lore path. I think this is such a nice detail that normal Star Rail can't give you. You can use Thirta and Ron May in the same team and MOC right now, but it obviously feels worse than running Tribi. And if you are a very big Ron May Herta believer, it kinda sucks benching a genius for a child Herta has never talked to. Running Buto and Rappa feels terrible in normal Star Rail, but the bond system tying them together makes them feel like the real Galaxy Ranger level duo they are purported to be. Giving people that like more lore accurate comps an advantage is such a good touch. It prevents many people from feeling bad having to pull for characters that don't fit the story of characters they like just to make them useful. Just the fact that the team slots can make you run more units is already a huge advantage. You simply cannot run enough units you like in normal Star Rail. And due to the gacha system, not everyone wants 12-man endgame content. I promise you that, there's already an example of it. This bond system combined with the trial system having access to every character makes an endgame that has 12 characters like this actually work and feel nice. If you want to run Ron May and Herta without missing out on Tribi's huge power level, you can. You can run Butel and Rappa without Rappa taking up unnecessary Fugue or Gallagher. You can run Black Swan and Acheron without missing out on Jiao Cho and Cypher. Not a single one of the units I mentioned even need to be pulled to work, which again is amazing. It's just so nice to finally be able to run lore accurate teams without sabotaging yourself. And if you don't care, you can still have fun with the kit-based blessings instead. Nobody is stopping you. Like, there's bonds for follow-up attack and AoE. You can do whatever you want, man. So yeah, I fully agree on the sentiment that the bond system is what's really missing from people being attached to character pairings. And well, it's a reason why I don't think Currency Wars is actively like a new thing. I think we can pivot to discussing Cyrene now, because she feels like a relevant example to this topic that I'm about to share. Cyrene's normal kit is effectively a bond system in its own twisted way. The reason why I don't think many people like it, like they would in Currency Wars, is because normal Star Rail has an insane amount of jade FOMO, and the power level is so messed up. In Currency Wars, trying out Karaiso's air teams is very easy. There's no jade expenditure or anything that can risk your account being bricked. You can treat 1-star characters as basically 4 stars. You don't have to pull for them in any way. The spendings you made in Currency Wars is contained to only that 1-hour run, whereas investing in Cyrene not knowing where it's taking you is just way too much of a gamble, especially if you don't have enough characters yet to trigger the quote-unquote bond system that Cyrene has. I guess, overall, This is gonna sound crazy. Currency Wars feels like a great execution of Cyrene's kit, except it's applied to every character in the game. And it's very interesting that they had to warp the game's environment around the bond system just to get people to like it. The jade FOMO, the usefulness of every character, the power creep, all of this being twisted together to make Currency Wars work with Cyrene's underlying design choice. It makes me wonder if this is what the future will eventually be. I've given up mostly on Nova Flares being demoed in Currency Wars, even though I like the concept of Jiaoqiu being able to heal. I'm a bit more pessimistic in thinking that Elation will have another Cyrene execution, and on the return to Belobog we might get Belobog Cyrene or something. Again, the idea itself of Cyrene's kit can stand, but I think Currency Wars has proven that the meta has to shift in such a way for the accommodation of a kit like Cyrene's to feel universally good. But anyway, I hope you guys like this video. I'm sorry again, this might be a video that's not very high quality because of my living situation just being very, very bad right now, but I guess it could be worse. And yeah, that's all for now. I really like Currency Wars now that I think about it. I don't think it's as big as people will, make it out to be, but I do think it's really interesting that everything that I heard about Currency Wars that is good for people is the direct opposite of what's happening right now in HSR's meta. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it gave you some insights on my thoughts after like 7 days of not uploading, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.